Okay, so I'm just playing some really simple stuff here. Got a click going. It's kind of a 6/8 vibe. I'm in a session here for a song, and I finished these tracks and sent them off, and the guy immediately responded. He's like, "I love these. These are so great." He always says that, and then he always comes back and is like, "Hey, but can you switch this one thing or these two things?" And which is totally cool. But I always know that there's something coming. uh, Either in the next 10 minutes from the first response, or the next day or whatever. But I did this muted thing in one of the verses of this track, and he came back and said, "Man, I'd love it if you continued that for the next couple sections." And so I've dialed in that sound again. I know I was playing this guitar. Yeah, I still have my 55, but sometimes I just reach for the one that's closest, and the old Dano here. It's still a great sounding guitar. I used it on this track, and so I'm going to palm mute. And that got me to thinking about playing behind the beat, because all of my simple rhythm tracks are right behind the beat, which I can see because the beat is on the grid in Pro Tools. I can see where each beat lands, and I can see where my waveforms land in relationship to that. And plus, I'm just constantly listening, and that's just where I think the guitar feels really good, just right behind the beat. You don't want to be too late, because then you sound like you're rushing the next beat or the next whatever subdivision, the next eighth note maybe. So what I was playing at the very beginning, I was just playing really simple stuff to the click and playing behind the beat. And then you'll notice I did a retard at the end, which can be hard to do against a click, but I feel like maybe that's part of being able to play behind the beat, is being able to slow down and maintain and control your own internal clock against a rhythm. But really, I think what it comes down to is this. Being able to play behind the beat is really just being able to get rid of all the tension you're carrying in every part of your body while you're playing. For me, early on when I was trying to do this, I would realize that I have a lot of tension in my neck and down my shoulder that would just be sore after a gig, or sometimes after a song or after a solo within a song, my tongue would be sore. And then I realized I was pushing it against the roof of my mouth and holding it like that, holding it pushed against the roof of my mouth. And it's like, why are you doing that? That's so weird. Well, it's because I was carrying that's how I was carrying tension in my body. Sometimes, I think some people, their wrist or their elbow locks up, and that can be sore after a gig. Or maybe you, like when you're sitting down, maybe you keep one foot your heel off the ground and you just flex your leg and you leave it like that the whole time you're playing, that can negatively affect what's happening in your hands because it's tension in your body that you're holding while you're trying to play. And so I think something that would be good for you to do if you want to learn how to play behind the beat is get a click, one that you're really comfortable with. You're not trying to see how fast you can go. Just a good mid-tempo metronome, and just play downstrokes with it. And try to make it disappear, meaning playing right on it, but also just try to relax every single part of your body. As you're sitting there playing eighth notes to the click or whatever, like let your mind wander. As you're doing that, let your mind wander over your whole body and think like, okay, am I gritting my teeth? Do I have any tension in my neck? Am I flexing my shoulder? Am I locking my elbow? Anything that is kind of sore after you've been sitting there just playing simple eighth notes, that's probably a good indicator that's where you're carrying tension. And so you need to make an intentional effort to relax that part of your body. Like for me, what I started doing, practicing since I was pushing my tongue against the roof of my mouth so much, I would practice with my jaw as slack as possible. And I'd just play like that. And, you know, if you really get into it, if you get in kind of in the zone where you're so focused you don't realize what's going on, this has happened to me before. I've literally started drooling on my guitar. What do they call that? The flow state. Dual purpose meaning there, right? When I would get into like a flow state of being so focused on my guitar while intentionally leaving my jaw relaxed, I wouldn't realize how much saliva is just sort of collecting, and it would drip out literally, like no bubbles, no nothing, which is really weird looking. You just kind of just land on my neck and, oh, what am I doing? And that sort of snapped me out of it. But you know, the whole point is to relax the spot that you are carrying the tension. And the more you play to a click, simple tempo, simple mid-tempo, simple parts, the more you will get that down. The more you'll relax. And I think a really great way to do this is to the click on the grid in a session. And so if you have your grid set out at 80 BPM or whatever, and you can play, 2 minutes worth of simple downstrokes, upstrokes, get the feel down to where you are fully relaxed. And maybe that's just downstrokes, don't complicate it. Because really what you're trying to do is look for tension throughout your whole body. So you're going to play something really simple while you start thinking about what the rest of your body's doing. And then, after you're done, you can zoom in on your waveform. And you can listen as it goes by and see what it sounds like. You can literally see what it sounds like. So I would do that sometimes. I would go back and listen to my guitar track, and I'd scroll on the screen, have it zoomed way in. Like, well, that part felt really good. I'm not flamming with anybody. I don't feel like I'm rushing. I don't feel like I'm way too behind. And I'd zoom in, and sure enough, here's the grid, and I'm right behind it. Like, zoom way in, right behind it. And honestly, I'm at the point now where when something doesn't feel right, and my ear will catch it as I go by when I'm playing, and I'll make a mental note of it to scope that spot with the engineer or hear by myself if I'm just doing overdubs at home. When it doesn't feel right, it's because I'm too late. And that is not a typical guitar player thing. Most of us are chomping at the bit, like we're gonna beat you to the finish line, you know? Like that's, for some reason, guitars have this lean forward aggression to them. And I think there's a context or two where that's right, like very rare, you know? Most of the time, if you want it to feel good, you want to be right behind the beat, right behind the drummer. You're not trying to, it doesn't feel like you're playing tug of war, like the drummer's trying to walk that way and you're pulling him back. It doesn't feel like that. It just feels like you're in step right behind him. So I would say to do that, get a click, whether that's in Pro Tools or not, preferably in Pro Tools so you can record yourself and then see. But search for tension throughout your body while you're playing. And it's important that you play to a click. I play to a click 99% of the time I have a guitar in my hands. There's a click going. And that's really important. I mean, for my line of work, I have to be so locked into it that it needs to be something that I don't even really notice, except when it's not there. And that's kind of where I am. Like I hear a click, I hear a drummer count off, and then we go, and the click never stops, and it's always there. Which is great because that gets you through the sections of the song on the grid where there's no drummer. And you can be pretty close. There'll be times when an engineer will punch me in on a section and there's no click, and I'm like, I mean, I've got it internalized to the point where it's okay. But I'm going to go ahead and fix this track. So here's the song, and I'll goose the rhythm track that I'm supposed to fix here. It's very minor key. Modulation. So rather than opening up there, he wanted another like minute and a half of mutedness. So let me just listen to this guitar track soloed one more time. I can't tell if I have a pedal on there or not. So we start off in E. It's 6 minor, C sharp minor. There's 2 minor in there, which is F sharp minor. Back to C sharp minor, G sharp major. That's a 3. And it's actually a 3 sus, which I play the sus in the lower voicing. 6 minor, 4. New 6 minor, key of F. Man, I feel like my verb is short. Yeah. Oh, passed it. I'm just moving the, what knob is that? I guess it's the decay, the reverb length. All right, so let's mute that guitar because I'm going to replay from that point on. And then he can fly these sections in. So, got my chart. Here we go. So close. That's better. I think that's it. Cool. I tried to open up somewhere and build, and I think I lost a little bit of the pocket. It was the same spot that I had originally opened up and built into more open, bigger chords. So let me scope this out here. Man, yeah, I'm just behind the whole way. Just behind. So I'll solo that track in the click, you can hear. Yeah, I got a little farther behind there. Didn't feel bad. Well, there you go. And I wonder, honestly, if this client is going to use these muted tracks, but probably keep the bigger chords as well, because the song is intro, verse, verse, chorus, verse, verse, instrumental, half chorus, rest of a chorus, vocal, and then chorus, chorus, out. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 verses, 1, 2, 3, 4 choruses, the front half of the third one being instrumental, and then there's a big down outro. So really, like, this whole section, I mean, I'm playing these mutes from verse 3 all the way down. And before, I was going through verse 3 and a little bit of verse 4, and then I opened up and slowly opened up and got bigger and bigger and bigger until it disappeared for the outro. I feel like that dynamic arc is right, but, you know, having these chunking away behind in the mix might be really cool. So that's what he requested. So again, it's really hard to play behind the beat if you never play it with a metronome. And even if you do, it's a lot easier to anticipate the metronome and sound like you've got this internal conflict going on between you and the click, like you're like there's a horse pulling a cart, and you're holding onto a rope on the back end, and you've got your heels dug into the dirt. It can sound like that, you know. And so I think rather than trying to hear where it's going to land and like, okay, now I can just try to slow down and be behind it, you know. For me, that didn't work as much as just getting rid of all the tension in my body. And then just being relaxed. Like you have to relax everywhere. Like if you holding this foot up and locking your calf muscle, that's tension. And that can affect your hands and your arms, your neck, your jaw. I think for most guitar players, it's neck, jaw, down your shoulder, usually your right arm. But sometimes if you're wearing the guitar, you can really hunch. Like if it's a heavier guitar, you can hunch this shoulder up, and then that's sore. And it's not so much sore because you were carrying weight there, but because you were holding it in tension the whole time that you played. So be really aware of that. And if you don't have Pro Tools or a computer, you know, or recording software, like great, no big deal. There are a million free metronomes in the App Store of whatever phone or whatever device you're watching this on. So try that. See how far it gets you. That's what got me there. Have a good one.